Hey there, language enthusiast. You sent us some thought-provoking excerpts from Lingualid's blog post, What is Fluency? Understanding Language Mastery.
Right.
And I have a feeling this is going to be a really fascinating deep dive for you.
It is going to be good.
Buckle up, because we're about to unpack what fluency truly means,
Yeah.
bust some myths, and hopefully spark some inspiration for your own language learning journey.
I think what you'll find intriguing is that the concept of fluency is much more nuanced than simply being able to string together sentences in another language.
Right.
There are layers, like an onion, and we're going to peel them back one by one.
Okay, let's peel back those layers.
No.
The article starts by going right to the root of the word fluency,
Yeah.
pointing out its connection to the Latin fluere,
Right.
meaning to flow. It seems pretty obvious, but I have a feeling there's more to it than meets the eye.
There is. Think of fluency as navigating a river in a kayak.
Okay.
You need to be able to react to the currents, the rocks, the unexpected turns. Just like you need to adapt to the flow of conversation and unexpected topics that come up.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It's not just about having a memorized script.
Right.
It's about being able to go with the flow,
Yeah.
to improvise, to respond in real time.
Exactly. And this is where the article makes a distinction between fluency and natural flow,
Okay.
which I think is really important for our discussion.
So are you saying that someone can be fluent without sounding perfectly natural like a native speaker?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Imagine someone who's learned to kayak on a calm lake. They can paddle smoothly, navigate, even do some tricks.
Yeah.
But put them on a rushing river and it's a different story.
Oh.
They might still get to their destination,
Yeah.
but it won't be as graceful or effortless.
Right.
That's kind of like the difference between achieving general fluency and having that truly native-like flow.
Now that you mention it, it does remind me of a time when I thought I was pretty fluent in language
Yeah.
until I tried to tell a joke and realized I had completely missed the mark. I had the words, but not the cultural understanding to make it land properly.
And that's a perfect illustration of why the article breaks down fluency into three core components. Vocabulary recall, grammatical accuracy, and ease of expression.
Okay.
These are like the paddle, the rudder, and the balance you need to navigate that river of conversation.
Okay, I'm ready to break down those components. Let's start with vocabulary recall.
Yeah.
Seems pretty straightforward, right?
Yes.
It's about having the words you need when you need them.
Yes. But it's more than just having a large vocabulary.
Okay.
It's about being able to access those words quickly and effortlessly in the heat of the moment.
Right.
Think of it like having a well-organized toolbox, where all your tools are so you can quickly grab the right one for the job.
Right.
Whether it's a hammer for a strong statement or a screwdriver for a subtle nuance.
So vocabulary recall is the foundation.
Yes.
But you also need the structure to build something meaningful.
Yeah.
That brings us to the next component. Grammatical accuracy. I think a lot of language learners, myself included, can get a bit obsessed with perfect grammar.
While grammar is important, the article emphasizes that fluency isn't about achieving grammatical perfection.
Right.
Think of it like the frame of a house. It needs to be strong enough to hold everything together,
Yeah.
but it doesn't need to be perfectly symmetrical or ornate. The most important thing is that it serves its purpose.
So you're saying it's okay to make a few grammar mistakes as long as you can still get your message across clearly. That's a relief.
Exactly. And this leads us to the final component, ease of expression.
Okay.
This is where it all comes together.
But what exactly does ease of expression mean? Is it about being able to speak quickly?
It's more about being able to articulate your thoughts and ideas smoothly, naturally, and without excessive hesitation.
Okay.
Imagine a figure skater gliding across the ice. They make it look effortless.
Right.
But there's a lot of skill and practice behind that fluidity.
Yeah.
That's what we're aiming for in language.
So it's not just about speed.
Yeah.
It's about grace, confidence, and that ability to connect with your audience.
Right.
It's almost like a performance.
Yes, and the article makes a point of distinguishing between fluency and something else we often hear, proficiency.
Okay.
This is where many learners get tripped up.
I'm all ears.
Yeah.
How are fluency and proficiency different? It seems like they're intertwined.
They are connected but not interchangeable.
Okay.
Think of proficiency as knowing all the dance steps and techniques, while fluency is being able to string those steps together into a beautiful and engaging performance.
Okay.
You could be a technically proficient dancer, but not necessarily a captivating performer.
So proficiency is like the knowledge base, the toolkit.
Right.
and fluency is how you wield those tools in real-time communication.
Exactly.
Okay.
You could be proficient in reading, writing, and understanding complex grammar, but still feel hesitant or awkward when speaking.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So fluency is really about the active, practical use of language, not just the knowledge itself.
Right. And the article dives even deeper, introducing the concept of mastery.
Okay, which goes beyond simple fluency.
Ooh, this is getting interesting. What's the difference between being fluent and truly mastering a language?
Fluency might be knowing how to dance, but mastery is knowing how to choreograph and improvise a breathtaking performance that truly resonates with your audience.
Wow.
It involves understanding the subtle cultural cues, the humor, the nuances that go beyond textbook language.
So it's like the difference between following a recipe and being a master chef who can create a masterpiece on the fly.
That's a great analogy. Mastery involves not just having the ingredients and techniques, but
Right.
also the creativity, intuition, and cultural awareness to use them in a way that truly connects with others.
I'm starting to see that fluency is a much richer and more fascinating concept than I initially realized. It's about so much more than just words and grammar. It's about connection, expression, and cultural understanding.
Exactly. And we've only just scratched the surface. Are you ready to explore some practical strategies for achieving fluency and maybe even starting down the path towards mastery?
I'm ready. I know you've got some great insights from the article. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to our exploration of fluency. Before we jumped into the practical tips, we were highlighting the idea that fluency is a journey, not a destination. And even a basic level of fluency can open up a world of possibilities.
I think that's so important for listeners to remember. It can be easy to get discouraged when you compare yourself to others or set unrealistic expectations. But every step towards fluency, no matter how small, is a victory worth celebrating.
Absolutely. And speaking of steps, let's delve into some of the strategies for building fluency that the article suggests.
Okay.
You might be surprised by how simple yet effective some of these techniques can be.
I'm always up for simple but effective.
Yeah.
The article mentions a few classics like reading aloud,
Right.
speaking while writing, and of course those tongue-twisting challenges.
Yeah.
Let's break those down and see why they still hold so much power.
These methods might seem a bit old school in our digital age, but there's a reason they've stood the test of time. They tap into the core elements of how we learn and process language.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's start with reading aloud. Why is this such a valuable technique for improving fluency?
Reading aloud engages multiple senses at once. It's like a mental workout that strengthens the connections between the written word, the spoken word, and your own internal understanding of the language.
So it's not just passively absorbing the information, it's actively processing and producing the language.
Yeah.
I can see how that would be more effective.
Exactly. When you read aloud, you're forced to pay attention to pronunciation, to the rhythm and intonation of the language. It helps you internalize grammar structures in a way that simply reading silently might not.
That makes sense. It's like the difference between watching a dance performance and actually getting up and dancing yourself.
Right.
You learn and internalize the moves much more effectively when you're actively participating.
That's a great analogy. And the beauty of reading aloud is that you can do it anywhere, anytime.
Yeah.
Grab a book, a magazine article, even a menu in your target language, and just start reading out loud.
No pressure, no audience, just you and the language. I love it. Now, what about speaking while writing? That one sounds a bit more unconventional.
It might sound a bit strange at first, but give it a try. The act of speaking while you're writing engages different parts of your brain and helps you make those crucial connections between your thoughts and your spoken words.
So it's like bridging the gap between your inner monologue and your outward expression. But what should we actually be speaking while we're writing?
Anything that comes to mind. Describe what you're doing, narrate your thoughts, create stories using new vocabulary words. The key is to get comfortable with the act of spontaneous speech production.
It's like giving your inner voice a microphone and letting it loose in your target language. I like it. Now let's move on to those tried and true tongue twisters. They might seem like just a silly game, but I have a feeling they serve a deeper purpose.
Absolutely. Tongue twisters are like targeted exercises for your mouth muscles.
Okay?
They help you train your tongue, lips, and even your breath control to produce those tricky sounds that might be challenging for non-native speakers.
It's like weightlifting for your pronunciation. Do you have any favorite tongue twisters you like to use with your students?
I have a whole collection, but one that always gets a good laugh and some serious tongue tangling is, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
That's a classic. I can barely get through it in English.
Right.
It's like a mini workout for your mouth.
Exactly. And the great thing about tongue twisters is that they're not just about pronunciation. They also help you develop rhythm, pacing, and overall fluency. The more comfortable you become with those complex sounds and phrases, the more confident you'll feel speaking in general.
So we've got reading aloud, speaking while writing, and tongue twisters. All excellent techniques that we can incorporate into our daily lives. But what about the bigger picture? The article talks a lot about immersion, and I know that's a topic many language learners are curious about.
Immersion is incredibly powerful, and while living abroad isn't always an option, there are ways to create a more immersive environment right where you are.
That's good news for those of us who can't just hop on a plane to a foreign country. What are some practical ways to create that immersion at home?
It's all about surrounding yourself with the language as much as possible. Think of it as building a language bubble around your daily life.
Okay, how do we build that bubble?
Start by switching the language settings on your phone and computer.
Okay.
Listen to music podcasts and audiobooks in your target language. Watch movies and TV shows with subtitles. Even something as simple as reading the news in your target language can make a difference.
It's about making the language a natural part of your daily routine, not just something you study for an hour each day.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of actively seeking out conversations with native speakers. There are so many resources available these days, from online language exchange platforms to local conversation groups.
That's where the real magic happens. There's nothing quite like practicing with a native speaker to push you out of your comfort zone and help you develop that natural flow we talked about earlier.
It's where you really get to test your skills, learn those nuanced expressions, and experience the language in a truly authentic way.
I love that. It's about making language learning an adventure, a journey of discovery, and not just a series of exercises.
And remember, it's okay to make mistakes. In fact, mistakes are an essential part of the learning process. Embrace them, learn from them, and keep moving forward.
I think that's a great message to leave our listeners with as we head into the final part of this deep dive. Fluency is a journey, a process of continuous learning and growth.
And we'll be right here to guide you through the next stage of your exploration.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the fascinating world of fluency. We've explored the core components, busted some myths, and uncovered some practical techniques for boosting your language skills. But now I'm excited to go even deeper and explore some of the more nuanced and perhaps even philosophical aspects of fluency that the article touches upon.
I think you'll find this part particularly interesting as it goes beyond just the mechanics of language and delves into the heart and soul of what it means to be truly fluent.
Okay, I'm ready to dive into the heart and soul. The article emphasizes the importance of cultural understanding, and I think that's something that often gets overlooked in traditional language learning.
It's easy to get caught up in the grammar rules and vocabulary lists, but language is so much more than just a set of tools. It's a window into a culture's values, beliefs, history, humor, and even its unspoken rules of communication.
It's like learning the steps to a dance without understanding the music or the cultural context behind it. You might be able to move your feet, but you won't truly capture the spirit of the dance.
That's a perfect analogy. Cultural understanding is what gives language its depth, its richness, and its ability to connect us on a deeper level.
So for our listeners who are eager to achieve that deeper level of fluency, what are some practical steps they can take to develop their cultural understanding?
Immersion is key, as we've discussed before, but it goes beyond just surrounding yourself with the language. It's about actively engaging with the culture through books, movies, music, art, food, and most importantly, through conversations with native speakers.
I think those conversations are where the real learning happens. It's where you pick up on those subtle nuances, those unspoken rules of etiquette, those idiomatic expressions that you won't find in a textbook.
Absolutely. It's like learning to read between the lines, to understand the subtext, the humor, the cultural references that give language its true meaning.
It's about going beyond just understanding the words and starting to understand the people who speak those words, their history, their perspectives, their values.
Exactly. And that leads us to another fascinating aspect of fluency that the article touches upon, embracing your own unique voice.
Now, that's an idea that really resonates with me. I think so many language learners, myself included, get caught up in this quest to sound exactly like a native speaker. But the article makes a compelling argument for why it's important to embrace our own unique voice in a new language.
Trying to completely erase your accent or conform to a perceived standard way of speaking can actually be counterproductive.
Yeah.
It can make you sound less genuine, less confident, and it can even hinder your ability to connect with others on a personal level.
It's like trying to fit into a mold that wasn't made for you. You lose a bit of yourself in the process.
Exactly. Your accent, your tone of voice, your choice of words, these are all part of what makes you unique, and they can actually enhance your communication in a new language.
I've definitely experienced that. When I'm speaking another language, people often comment on my accent in a positive way.
Yeah.
They find it charming, interesting, and it often sparks conversations about my background and culture.
It becomes a conversation starter, a way to break the ice and to share a bit of yourself with others.
It's about embracing those little imperfections, those unique quirks that make you who you are, and letting them shine through in your new language.
And that brings us to one final but incredibly important point that the article highlights, the transformative power of language.
Ooh, I love that idea. Language isn't just a tool for communication. It's a tool for personal growth and transformation.
Learning a new language can change how we think, how we see the world, and even how we see ourselves.
It's like opening up new pathways in your brain, expanding your horizons and challenging your assumptions.
It can be a truly humbling experience to realize that there are other ways of seeing the world, other ways of expressing ideas, other ways of being.
It can make you question your own assumptions, broaden your perspectives, and ultimately make you a more open-minded and understanding person.
And it can be incredibly empowering when you overcome the challenges of learning a new language and realize that you can communicate and connect with people from different cultures. It boosts your confidence and opens up a world of possibilities.
It's like unlocking a hidden superpower, the ability to connect with people from different backgrounds, to experience new cultures, to see the world through a different lens.
And the journey itself is just as rewarding as the destination. The challenges, the triumphs, the aha moments, the friendships you forge along the way, these are all part of the transformative power of language learning.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final question to ponder, inspired by the article's beautiful quote. Language is the roadmap of a culture. It tells you where its people come from and where they are going. If fluency is the key to unlocking that map, where might your language journey take you?
The possibilities are endless. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those languages flowing.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of fluency. Until next time, keep those language adventures going.